The quilt itself is 4 feet by 4 feet, 48 inches by 48 inches. We used half-inch plywood and pressure-treated 2x4s to build it. We used a high-quality oil-based Zinsser primer, and then we used a French cleat you see there on the back. That's what we used to hang it. So the pattern that we're using, we started off here, we needed to create a 4-inch border around the entire thing, so we used this drywall T-square and a tape measure just to be sure that our lines were nice and straight. But here we are creating that 4-inch border around the entire thing. So that's going to create a 40-inch box inside of that 4-inch border. 48 inches minus 4 inches on both sides left us with a 40-inch box. And that is what we will use to make our grid to draw the lines for the maple leaf that will make the quilt. Now we need to create a 5x5 grid inside of that 40-inch box that we created. So we're marking every 8 inches, and then we're using the T-square again to connect those lines. So that's going to give us 5 boxes going across. That will be 8 by 8. And then we will be able to use those to create the geometry that will make up the maple leaf. So here we are cross-referencing. We did it in small scale on grid paper, and we're just being sure by double checking each other that we are drawing the right lines and then labeling. We used a number system. This is going to be 4 different colors. So using the numbers 1 through 4 inside of the spaces we're creating to make sure that everything ends up getting painted the correct color. And like I said, we're just both really double checking with each other to make sure that we are translating it from the grid paper onto the actual workpiece. Now I'm starting to apply the painter's tape. I do think it's a good idea. This is probably not where you want to cheap out on this project. You probably don't want to cheap out anywhere on this project. We used really high quality paint, but we used a high quality 3M painter's tape because we really wanted to get good crisp lines. So to us, it was worth spending the few extra dollars on the more expensive painter's tape. I also did use a razor knife to trim up some of the tape overlaps before we started painting here. We used all Valspar paints. The 3 colors we used were called Trebienne, Oso Red, and Terracotta Red. So that darkest one, that is the Trebienne. This is the Oso Red going on now. And then the lightest one will be the Terracotta Red. One thing we did need to make sure when we were pulling the tape off, you really want to pull the tape off away from the paint to try to get that good crisp line. If we saw it starting to stick, we even took a razor knife a couple times because we did do multiple coats, so we couldn't pull it off when it was wet. But we did take a razor knife and go along the edge of the paint and the painter's tape. I think you can, yeah, you can see us doing that here, just to really try to make sure that those lines are crisp. But you can see Taylor there and now me pulling away from the painted surface to try to get good crisp lines. And you can see we did a pretty good job achieving that here. Here we are applying the terracotta red. We really ended up being super happy with the paint color choices here. The stem that we're about to apply, this was called Roasted Coffee. And again, these were all Valspar paints that we picked up at Lowe's. We did a quart of each color, and we just did the highest quality exterior paint that they had in each one of these because we want this to last a long time. Again, you see me peeling away from the painted edge. and we really achieved that good crisp line there. So now we're going to start applying some color to the borders. This was the Oh So Red. We made sure you can see Taylor there is doing the both face and the side edges, both for aesthetics and because we really wanted to make sure that everything was nice and sealed, especially that plywood. We really wanted to make sure that plywood wasn't going to delaminate over time. We did use some high grade exterior caulking on the plywood edges also. And then we used that terracotta for the corners here. So they really tied in with the maple leaf. Then the only last thing we did do off camera here was we did touch up those pencil lines with some of that white Zinsser paint. And here's the finished product up on the barn. Thanks for watching.